how far-reaching can truth really be? Especially, when it's buried deep in a small town that seems perfectly normal on the surface. And maybe even more interesting, what happens when the past just refuses to stay quiet? When it starts demanding to be heard?
Right.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at a really extraordinary story. And we're using it almost like a case study, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
We're digging into these big questions about secrets, about family legacies, unresolved stuff, and just the sheer guts it takes to chase down the truth, regardless of what it costs.
And our sources today are, well, they're really fascinating. It's all drawn from one young woman's own life, her notes, her experiences, some pretty startling discoveries she makes.
It forms this really compelling narrative we can unpack.
It does. And our mission here is to pull out those bigger insights from this specific story. We're going to analyze how someone's, unique ability kind of forces this confrontation with lies that have been around for ages. It shows you in really vivid detail how secrets can just ripple out generation after generation and what it actually takes to, finally drag them out into the open.
So let's start with Hollis. She's our central figure here. Her life totally changes when she's just 11. There's this tragic accident. She gets pulled from a freezing river after being underwater for, get this, 32 minutes.
32 minutes. It's incredible she survived.
Right. And this near-death experience, it gives her something extraordinary. She starts seeing these things she calls grave birds. So what does that tell us about where these kinds of abilities might come from?
Well, it's a really key point in the narrative. The sources definitely suggest it's more than just like a physical recovery. It's portrayed as this profound liminal moment, like the veil between worlds just rips for her.
Okay.
And it suggests that maybe confronting death itself is sometimes the trigger for understanding life, deeper hidden truths.
So these grave birds, what exactly are they supposed to be?
They're described as manifestations of the dead's unresolved issues, essentially. And when Hollis interacts with them, she gets these powerful flashes of the past. Sometimes it even helps the dead find peace, lets them move on.
And her first real encounter wasn't some huge dramatic mystery, was it? It was actually pretty personal.
No, not at all. It was her own granddaddy's grave bird.
Right.
And it revealed this very specific, almost mundane secret about a stolen gold-colored hair comb. Something described as pretty as a peacock's feathers.
Okay.
Turns out her granddaddy really regretted scolding her severely about it right before her accident.
Wow. So what does that first experience tell us about the kind of issues these birds represent? It's not always like major crimes or hidden treasures.
Exactly. That's crucial. It shows these abilities aren't just about uncovering sensational stuff. It highlights how even small personal regrets can weigh heavily on the dead and how they can still echo in the lives of the living.
That makes sense.
And it also brings in Uncle Royce, Mr. Gentry. He's the one who actually saved her from the river.
Right.
And he later becomes her mentor, teaches her how to understand these birds. And importantly, when he passes away, he leaves Hollis his huge mansion, but with a strange condition attached. It kind of hints that her gift has a bigger purpose waiting.
Okay, so there's a setup for something more. And then these bigger purposes start arriving, signaled by some really weird environmental stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. The atmosphere in Hawthorne, South Carolina on this one particular day is just thick with foreboding. It's like the universe is screaming, pay attention.
How so?
Well, it's marked by all these 17s. It's May 17th. It's been raining for 17 straight days, and it's the year of the 17-year cicadas.
Whoa. That's a lot of 17s.
It is. It feels like this collective omen, almost. Like the town itself is primed for something big, maybe this inevitable clash with its own secrets.
A cosmic heads up?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The sources really detail these signs, suggesting it's all a prelude to Cain Landry showing up.
Okay, Cain Landry. Tell us about him.
He makes this very dramatic entrance. He's described as mysterious, very well-dressed, and Hollis is immediately drawn to him. But it's the stuff happening around him that's really wild.
Like what?
As he walks by, all the white dogwood blooms start to weep blood-red drops onto the sidewalk.
No way. Seriously.
Seriously. And crucially for Hollis, there's a grave bird perched on the man's shoulder. The little fat robin, it looks right at her and whispers, "Vengeance will be mine."
Chilling. Okay, so supernatural signs are everywhere. Cain's arrived. But Hollis still has her feet on the ground, right? She has practical goals.
Absolutely. Despite seeing ghost birds, she's trying to get a loan from the First South Bank. She wants to turn Uncle Royce's mansion into an event venue. Pretty normal ambition.
But she hits a snag. Lizzie Biggins, the loan officer.
Yeah. Lizzie seems to be deliberately throwing up roadblocks, making Hollis jump through hoops, demanding more and more paperwork. It feels intentional.
So even before the big supernatural mystery fully unfolds, there's this human-level resistance. What's that about?
It's a great observation. It suggests the system itself, the status quo, is already pushing back against her, even unconsciously maybe. And there's this strong hint that Lizzie might be in cahoots with Uncle Royce's daughters.
Ah, the ones who didn't inherit the mansion.
Exactly. They weren't happy. So these mundane obstacles, they kind of foreshadow that the deception she's about to uncover runs deep, way beyond just ghosts.
Okay, and this is where the grave birds start becoming more active, right? Not just things she sees, but actual guides.
Precisely. They shift from being just observations to being, well, her very unusual guides into Hawthorne's secrets. And what's interesting is how these early encounters aren't random. They feel like pieces of a puzzle starting to form.
Like the drowned girl.
Yes, that's one of the first big mysteries. This ghost of a drowned little girl keeps visiting Hollis's greenhouse studio. It's really eerie. She leaves puddles of water, her skin is a cold gray.
Rapey.
And she often points towards Cain's cardinal puzzle piece.
The piece he carries.
Yeah, we find out later it's a significant family heirloom for him. So that gesture, the pointing, acts like this crucial magnetic clue, linking these seemingly separate mysteries right from the start.
And there are other birds? Other visions?
Oh, yes. Another grave bird, a fat gray-brown wren this time, leads her out into the woods.
Okay.
And there she finds scattered bones, bits of tattered blue jean fabric, the remains of someone called Old Grady.
Oh, wow.
And that discovery triggers a vision. A young boy burned in a fire at a place called Cappy's Campgrounds. The vision is tied to a trout keychain.
So she looks into it.
She does. Checks the old newspaper archives. But finds nothing about a death at the campgrounds. Just a story about a heroic mechanic, Frank Kilroy, who apparently called in the fire.
So the official story doesn't match the vision at all?
Not even close. It's a classic example of what the sources keep showing. The public story versus the hidden truth. Very different things.
Okay, what else?
Then inside the Hawthorne mansion itself, in the office, a sweet mourning dove, grave bird, appears.
A different kind of bird for each situation.
It seems so, yeah. This one leads Hollis to a vision of a woman frantically searching for something, just moments before she's brutally killed. Blunt force trauma to the head.
Awful.
And the vision is filled with the woman's intense fear, not for herself, but for her children. It's palpable, really emphasizes the human cost, the ripple effects of these hidden crimes.
It sounds overwhelming. Does she get any, physical proof from these things?
Sometimes, yes. There's another vision, triggered by a gray mockingbird, great bird, at a mechanic's shop. She sees a man killed by a car falling on him.
Oof.
And afterwards, actual coins scatter around her feet, like tangible souvenirs from the spiritual encounter.
That's bizarre. And incredibly validating for her, I imagine.
It must be. And just as she's trying to process all these spectral clues, something happens in the real world that adds another piece.
What's that?
There's a news report. Betsy Gilroy has died? A fatal fall at a construction site. Sounds like a tragic accident.
But Hollis suspects otherwise.
Well, her ability kicks in. She has a grave bird encounter related to Betsy. And this bird doesn't reveal sadness or fear. It reveals Betsy's deepest regret.
Which was?
Not that she died, but that she didn't manage to blackmail her brother and sister-in-law for more money.
Whoa. Okay. That's dark. And definitely points away from accident.
Absolutely. It reveals this nasty undercurrent of greed and betrayal right there in Hawthorne.
So at this point, Hollis isn't just passively receiving these visions anymore, is she? She's starting to connect them.
Exactly. This is a real turning point. She shifts from just seeing things to actively trying to figure it out. She's thinking, are they connected? They have to be, right? I just need to figure out how.
She becomes the detective in her own supernatural mystery.
That's a great way to put it. She realizes these aren't just random hauntings. There's a pattern. And she needs to understand it and understand what these spirits want from her. It shows that crucial step-taking agency, trying to impose order on this supernatural chaos.
And as she starts digging, the focus shifts more towards the Hawthorne family, the ones currently living in the mansion.
Yes, the people presenting themselves as Noah and Libby Hawthorne. The tension with them really ramps up. Libby confronts Hollis aggressively about Hollis's grandmother staging some public protests. And Libby has this really strange, almost hostile reaction to Cain's godmother, Paloma. It all starts to feel off, like they're hiding something big, like they aren't who they claim to be.
It speaks to how hard people work to keep up appearances, right? Especially in small towns.
For sure. And then the plot thickens even more. We find out Cain also has spirit eyes.
Wait, really? He can see them too?
Apparently so. The sources suggest he perceives the spiritual realm, much like Hollis, but maybe uses it differently. His focus seems more on his family's history, property, lineage, maybe tied to that Grady Owens estate.
So they share this ability, but maybe have different goals.
Sees that way. And Paloma, Cain's godmother, she's not just some negotiator. Turns out she actually knew the woman who was murdered in the Hawthorne office vision. They were friends.
No kidding.
Yeah, and Paloma drops this bombshell line to Hollis, very cryptically. Libby Hawthorne has been dead a very long time.
Whoa, okay, that's a massive clue.
Huge. It's like she's confirming Hollis's deepest suspicions without spelling it out.
And what about Mary Beth, the supposed daughter?
Ah, Mary Beth. She's such a tragic figure in all this. You see her struggling internally. She seems melancholic, detached. She has this connection to the cardinal gravebird, which we now know links her to Cain's family somehow.
Right.
And she talks about having a dream about the drowned little girl, but implies maybe it wasn't just a dream.
Oh.
Plus, there's this detail about her supposed father, Noah, having a suspicious head injury. It all paints a picture of someone trapped, burdened by secrets she can't quite voice.
So much tension building. It feels like something has to break.
And it does, spectacularly. At the gala, Hollis organizes at the mansion.
She uses the event itself.
Cleverly, yes.
Yeah.
It's not just about launching her business. It becomes the stage for the big reveal, a public reckoning.
How does it unfold?
Well, Mary Beth gives this presentation about her supposed grandparents, Jedediah and Patsy Hawthorne. And the presentation includes a picture of Jedediah wearing this very distinctive game bird feather boutonniere.
Let me guess.
The exact same kind Cain wears.
Ah, the visual proof, implying Cain is the real heir.
Precisely. And then Mary Beth. She just drops the bomb. She reveals she isn't Mary Beth Hawthorne at all. She's Candace Kilroy, daughter of Sarah Hawthorne and Frank Kilroy.
Frank Kilroy, the mechanic from the Campground Fire story.
The very same. And she points to the people everyone knows as Noah and Libby Hawthorne and exposes them. They are actually her parents, Sarah and Frank Kilroy, the ones who were exiled years ago for stealing church money.
Unbelievable. What courage that must have taken for Candace.
Incredible courage to break free from a lifetime of lies like that in public.
And Hollis plays a part in this reveal, too.
Yes. Empowered by all the visions from the grave birds, she stands up and makes the accusations public. She points to Jeremiah, who she reveals is actually Jason Kilroy, Sarah and Frank's son, and accuses him of beating the boy at Cappy's campgrounds and setting that fire.
The fire Frank supposedly just reported.
Right. And then Hollis accuses Libby, Sarah Kilroy, of drowning the real Mary Beth Hawthorne years ago, the little girl from the greenhouse vision.
Oh my God, so the motive, it was all about the inheritance.
Exactly. Sarah and Frank stole the original Hawthorne inheritance, the land, everything. They came back under false identities to reclaim a life of luxury. The gala itself was just another part of the fraud, meant to fund their stolen lifestyle. All those individual tragedies, all those grave birds, they all connected back to this one massive generational crime.
So what happens after this huge public exposure?
Well, in the immediate aftermath, Libby Sarah Kilroy, her death is officially declared a suicide, which in a dark way kind of cements her guilt in everyone's eyes.
Right, and Jeremiah Jason.
He refuses to cooperate, clams up. But the evidence and Hollis's testimony strongly implicate him in the death of the boy at Cappy's. It's maybe not perfect justice, but the truth is out there.
Still, even with the truth out, there must be so much healing needed.
Absolutely. And we see that start to happen. Candace Kilroy, the girl who lived as Mary Beth, she fully comes forward. She gives Cain the original Mary Beth's charm bracelet.
Confirming the drowned girl's identity for good.
Yes. And Candace shares her own deep regret, the burden of living that lie. It's this moment of incredible vulnerability, but also liberation for her.
A huge step.
And with that closure, Cain can finally do something important. His brother, the boy from Cappy's, and his sister, the drowned Mary Beth. They're finally buried properly at Hollis's granddaddy's country church cemetery.
Bringing them home, in a sense.
Exactly. Giving them the recognition and peace they were denied for so long. It shows the power of just acknowledging the truth and giving people their proper resting place.
And what about Hollis? This must have been incredibly draining, but also maybe validating for her.
Both, I think. We see her attend her own granddaddy's memorial service. And the words from Brother Ralph there about faith, connection to the land, family history, it seems to resonate deeply with her. It feels like a moment of personal healing, connecting her own past and grief with this larger story she's uncovered.
Integrating her gift with her own life.
Yes. And it's not just personal healing. She achieves that professional goal, too. With help from investors, she buys the old Serendipity Country Club and restores its original, grander name, Royal Oaks Estates.
Nice.
She establishes her event planning business there. It's like reclaiming truth leads directly to her own success, both personally and professionally.
And Cain, does he find his place, too?
He does. His family history is finally clear. His identity as Jedediah Hawthorne's grandson is established. He reclaims his legacy. And his own business, sourcing soybeans for world hunger initiatives with Paloma's amazing negotiating skills, really takes off.
That's great. So they both find their paths forward.
They do. And their relationship, Hollis and Cain's, it deepens through all this. They're bonded by this shared secret ability, the grave birds, and by their shared fight for truth. It shows how common purpose, even one born from trauma, can build really strong connections.
Is there a final moment of release for them?
There is, a really beautiful, symbolic one. Hollis takes that peacock hair comb, the one tied to her childhood guilt and her granddaddy's regret.
Yeah.
And she ties it to the mourning tree at the cemetery, finally letting go of that decades-long burden.
Wow.
And Cain, he ties his cardinal puzzle piece there too, symbolizing his own healing, releasing his family's painful past. It's this quiet, powerful image of ending cycles of pain and choosing honesty.
What an incredible narrative arc. We've gone from, woman person's grief and this strange ability all the way to uncovering decades of crime, lies, and reclaiming stolen identities.
It really shows how deep the roots of secrets can go, doesn't it? But also how persistent truth can be even when buried for generations.
Yeah. I think this story really drives home that idea that knowing the truth, even when it's painful to find out, is what ultimately allows for real clarity, real healing. Not just for one person, but maybe for a whole town, a whole family history.
Absolutely. It forces you to reconsider history, family narratives, maybe even those subtle forces, the things we don't always see. It highlights the resilience of truth, how it finds ways to surface, often through the most unexpected people or, abilities.
And so it leaves us with a thought, doesn't it? If that veil between worlds thinned for you, if the past started whispering, demanding to be seen, what choices would you make to bring a hidden truth into the light? And what unexpected gifts, maybe even difficult ones, might you discover about yourself in that process?